Good morning. So, when I was in second grade, I brought home this little, pitiful tree. Its roots were wrapped in plastic. And back then, Arbor Day and not Earth Day was the day that teachers tried to get kids to connect with nature. And so, this little tree that looks something like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, but smaller, I presented it to my dad and I said, "Dad, I want to plant this in the backyard." He kind of looked at me and shrugged and said, "Will that really make a difference? Will that really make a difference?" See, what my dad didn't know is that that moment was a lesson to me. It was a lesson in defiance and resilience. See, just like that little tree, my second grade self, despite our outward appearance, we could make a difference. I went on to be really interested in how little things can help or not help the environment. I ended up studying civil and environmental engineering when I went to school. And outside of school, I would go to places that most people would find just outright disgusting. I would go to landfills and wastewater treatment plants. And for those of you that don't know what that is, a wastewater treatment plant is where the contents of a flush toilet goes. I would see firsthand on how our habits would result in excessive waste and how we were totally distanced from the consequences. Fast forward, right now, I own my own shop. I feature sustainable goods for the home. These are crafty, colorful, stylish goods that take into consideration Mother Nature and personal health. I also teach classes on how to creatively upcycle. In addition to having that store, I work as an adjunct professor and a consultant. I talk to people about design and process aimed at reducing the negative effects on the environment, as well as personal health. I use words like biomimicry and dematerialization and eco-efficiency and regenerative economy. Now, how many of you thought that last sentence that I just said was a bunch of gibberish? You didn't understand what I was saying. Most of you, right? That proves my point. Unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where sometimes when we talk in these terms, they're just jargon. They don't translate. People don't understand what sustainability is and how it translates to our everyday life. The common definition that we use is that sustainability is meeting our current needs without compromising the needs of future generations. But somewhere along the way, we started to interpret it eco and green as meaning basically things that rich people do to make them feel better about themselves. But that's not the case. Sustainability is for everybody. So sometimes we look at terms like organic, and you think, well, that's good for you, but it's trendy and expensive. Or you may say, organizations that are trying to help the environment, like the Sierra Club. No offense to the Sierra Club, but they seem a little bit out of touch. Their membership may be perceived as being wealthy or perceived as being older. And maybe they don't look like me or my family. Maybe they don't know the struggles to make and meet. Maybe they don't know that it's really challenging to think about the earth when you have other challenges to think about. But if you don't remember anything that I say here today, I want you to remember this. Sustainability is not about being wealthy. It's not about being elite. It's not about being a trend. It's certainly not about you being detached from it. Sustainability is about empowerment and equity. Don't you think that you should have a say and how other people's actions affect your livelihood? Don't you think that natural resources should have a certain fairness to them, like the distribution of clean air and water? Individuals, businesses, governments, they all do things to degrade the environment. And it's very common for people to put profit above other people's well-being. It's a concern. It's something we should all be concerned about. I want to do a little experiment with you right now. In the middle of your tables, you should have some balloons. There should be a couple balloons at each table. So I want you to take that out, and I want you to start to blow those up. So, the balloon that I have represents 1 gallon of gasoline. Go ahead, blow up those balloons. I'll wait. What about this table? No takers? Okay, thank you. So if this balloon represents 1 gallon of gasoline and it was burned, do you know how many gallons of carbon dioxide would be created from 1 gallon of gasoline? Can you take a guess? Anybody? Look around you. So this little social experiment is to help illustrate this. That woke you up. 1 gallon of gasoline, there's, maybe 200 people in this room. If you all had a balloon, you would have to multiply that by 5. You burn 1 gallon of gasoline, it creates over 1,000 gallons of carbon dioxide. Okay, you can let go of those balloons now. Go ahead, or you can keep them, but I gotta move on. So, why does something like that matter? Why does it matter? Yes, carbon dioxide is a naturally occurring gas. However, due to our activities, we emit vast quantities of it. And that disrupts the delicate balance that the Earth provides. Carbon dioxide is considered a greenhouse gas. And what does that mean? It is a gas that acts like a blanket. It takes the warmth from the sun and it traps it close to the surface of the Earth. And that affects our climate systems. Everybody on this planet will be affected by this. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I can tell you everything about climate science. It's this hugely overarching big issue that I can't begin to discuss in just 15 minutes. And because carbon dioxide is literally invisible, this is a really abstract concept to most of us. But I want to tell you a few things that aren't so abstract. According to the World Health Organization, 88% of diseases linked to climate change will affect children. Poor children, from both rich countries and poor countries alike, they're affected the most. And that, going back to that gallon of gasoline, when you burn it, it doesn't only emit carbon dioxide. It also emits pollution, particulate matter, toxins, gas. Some of you may be aware that traffic pollution is related to concentrated cases of asthma. But what you may not know is that traffic pollution, they're now doing studies linking it to learning difficulties and behavioral health. We're just now starting to understand how these pollutants may affect things like autism and emotional development. So what can you do? You can, yes, use less gasoline. You can consolidate trips. You can buy less stuff. You can recycle, yes, go ahead and recycle. But I think one of the best things that you can do is really learn about what's going on in your own backyard. What's happening here and now. What innovative approaches are taking place in this community. So in Buffalo, we have a chance to go down a different path, to maybe get away from using fossil fuels like oil and gas and go more towards renewables. There's lots of innovative approaches to explore. So for example, Buffalo is home to lots of bigger, older homes, lofty, that are very energy inefficient. And in some communities, especially in our urban core, for low-income families, energy represents a huge amount of their household budget. So there's an approach, and there's a model right here in Buffalo in the Fruit Belt, where over 100 rooftops have solar on it, solar panels. This is called shared solar or community solar. So when you have shared solar, there are lots of benefits. The people that have those panels, they benefit from having reduced energy costs. The people that are all around them, our community, we benefit because there's less greenhouse gases. And then the people that are installing those panels, they also benefit because they have a job. It's a great approach. It's a new solution to an old problem. But in addition to being innovative, looking at renewables or working with sustainability can be very, very entrepreneurial as well. Now, did you know that Tony Stark, also known as Iron Man, has an office right here in Buffalo? Did you know that? Okay, so for those of you that maybe follow the Marvel Universe, you may know that the character of Tony Stark, they often say it's a depiction of somebody named Elon Musk. Elon Musk owns a company called Tesla. And Tesla, along with another company you might have heard of called Panasonic, they have a massive factory in South Buffalo. And this is a picture of it. There's opportunity for new jobs, or maybe even a new business. There's a chance for you to develop something that can lead into this new economy. So maybe you're ready to do something about it, or maybe you're ready to take on a movement. These young people, 21 young people from the ages of 10 to 21, Juliana versus the United States, they are suing the government for violating their constitutional rights. They're doing this because they say the government is supporting fossil fuel, and that affects their future. This case, arguably, could be one of the biggest environmental cases of the century. Do you want to join them? Okay, I know. Maybe you're not ready to take on the government. I understand that. But there's other things that you can do. You're teenagers. You probably know a lot about clothes, right? So your generation actually consumes 3 times as many clothes as your grandparents did 50 years ago, and twice as many clothes as your parents did 20 years ago. Fast fashion is an addiction. It's growing out of control. They say that the average American now throws away 70 to 80 pounds of textiles a year. Only a quarter of those, the clothes that we use, are recycled. You know, I read this recent depiction of this saying that the amount of clothes that we throw away could fill up a football field 14 feet deep. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because this is not somebody else's issue. This is your issue. This is something that you can directly change. I mean, do you want somebody else telling you what you should do? You can use sustainability, embrace it, use it as a lens to look at things differently, to think of new ideals, new products, new markets, new opportunities. There's a whole world to explore. All you really need is something to spark your interest. For me, that spark, it was a little tree. A tree that now still grows in my parents' backyard. It's still there, strong and tall. It's soaking up rainwater. It's soaking up carbon dioxide. It's giving out fresh air. It's providing shade. It's a habitat for small animals. This is my spark. What's yours? Could it be that you want a new job opportunity? You want to start your own business? Perhaps it's just the fact that you want to breathe clean air. Whatever it is, just take a little time. Invest a little bit of time right now. And if you do that, I promise you, that time, that investment will pay off in ways that you will never expect. Thank you.